Got one more minute, but we'll go ahead because I know you guys are in here and we appreciate you sticking with us on this Saturday. I'm not sure what the weather is like where you are. It's sunny here in the high country. It's a little chilly, but it is sunny and we love the sun. So I'm sure most of you want to get on with your day as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. My name again is Kim Morton. I am the Director of Transfer Recruitment and Retention in our Online and Transfer Services office. I have a colleague on here helping me to facilitate. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Sherman. I'm the Program Manager here at Online and Transfer Services. So if you do have any questions as we're kind of talking, discussing, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll be happy to help as well.
Excellent, excellent. And why don't we just go around and have each of our mentors. So these are 4 of our transfer student mentors. Just a little information, our transfer student mentor program is a 100% volunteer leadership program. So they are volunteering to assist with other transfer students and helping pave the way and show the way of how they experience their transfer. So we appreciate you guys logging in on a Saturday morning, and I'm just going to go around my Brady Bunch screen, if you don't mind, and just call out who I see first. So Russell, I see you first. If you want to unmute and introduce yourself.
Sure thing. Hey everyone, my name is Russell Michaels. As Kim said, I'm a transfer student mentor here at App. I transferred to App in the spring of 2020. And sorry, I couldn't remember, from Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, and I'm currently a senior studying environmental science.
Excellent. And Kara.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kara. I transferred spring of 2019 from the University of Georgia. I currently serve as a transfer student mentor, and I am a senior at Appalachian State studying dietetics.
Great. Lydia.
Hi everyone, my name is Lydia. I am also a transfer student mentor. I transferred from Lees McRae College in the fall of 2018, and I'm currently a senior studying recreation management.
And Shaheem.
Hi everyone, my name is Shaheem. I'm also a transfer student mentor. I transferred to App in fall of 2019 from Central Piedmont Community College, and I'm currently a senior majoring in broadcasting.
Excellent. So again, this is your opportunity to ask them questions. We're going to get them started with a few questions, but if you have any, please put them in the chat and we will, Sam, if you want to monitor the chat and kind of bring those into the conversation. But first, I guess the question I want to ask you first is, as you were getting ready to transfer, how did the process go? What criteria did you look at when you were choosing a transfer school? What was important to you, and what ultimately made you focus on App as compared to another institution? So I'll just let you guys jump in.
I can take this one. So for me, I knew I wanted to study environmental science. So part of the reason I chose App was just because the Earth and Environmental Science department is so big and successful. So I was kind of looked at the faculty, the kind of research that they do, and see how that aligns with what I want to study, as well as I kind of looked at numbers post-graduation. So how many people go on to grad school and how many people get jobs right after undergrad. And that high number was a big factor, at least for me, in choosing App. So.
Same. So I was looking at the Department of Communication, and when I did my research on App, I found out that they had their own television station called App TV. I'm like, okay, so I know I'm going to be able to get some experience in doing working on television and doing some reporting. So App was like at the top of my list for university who can give me that experience of being on television and operating cameras and, you know, being in studios. And I thought App was a great choice, and that sort of lead me towards coming to App. So definitely the departments.
One of the big reasons for me was the community of transfer students. I saw how many transfer students there were here at App, and so that kind of made me feel better, like, okay, I'm not alone in this situation. There's a bunch of other people here who have also been through this, and just all the resources that they have for transfer students made me feel totally confident in transferring and comfortable transferring to App State.
I think for me, some of the biggest factors, so when I was at my other school, I hadn't declared a major, so I was undecided. And my particular school didn't have a lot of options. And so one of the biggest things I looked for was, okay, what is an institution where I can explore a lot of different options, or I can have a lot of opportunities to try out different majors, and kind of explore my interests, because I hadn't had that opportunity prior to going to App. And so I also really loved the outdoor area, because with my major, that was such a big reason that I chose to come here. Just I love being outside and getting to experience all the different seasons, and it being so close to just outdoor recreation. And so mainly just having opportunity to explore and learn more about myself and kind of where I fit, and what my passions are. And App definitely provided that.
Great. So how was your initial few weeks? I mean, you went through the application process, you got admitted, and now it's time to move to App, step foot on it, move into either your residence hall or an apartment off campus. How was the initial transition for you?
For me, I'm from Roswell, Georgia, and I transferred in the winter time. And so adjusting to the cold temperature and the snow was definitely something new for me, because I had never seen snow prior, not never seen snow, but I hadn't seen snow in like 5-6 years before that. And so definitely getting used to the weather was something that I had to manage, but that was like, I'm definitely prepared now. I have all my winter coats and layers now. But yeah, I ended up using the off-campus housing website to find my apartment that I wanted to sublease from. And that was really nice and convenient, because I was able to live right off of campus so that I could walk to my classes, which was super helpful for me.
I know for me, 2 hours away in Charlotte, the commute wasn't, too stressful. And just sort of getting acclimated on campus. And I stayed in the transfer RSC. So once I stepped on campus in the first few weeks, meeting other transfer students was very exciting for me to see and to hear other stories and where people transfer from, other institutions. So just sort of indulging myself in those transfer events, like going to Cap Brownstone was very exciting, and I had tons of fun. So it's really that stressful and really exciting for the first few weeks.
Yeah, I also, like Kara, lived off campus. My commute I live right down the mountain, so it was like an hour. So pretty much in my backyard. So that was easy. But getting involved, like Shakeem said, with those transfer events, were a really good way to connect. And I also, when I like kind of introduced myself to my professors in the like first couple of weeks, I told them that I was a transfer student, and asked if there was anything that I like needed to do, and anything I should be like aware of or that I should know. And all of them were super helpful as well.
That's an interesting tactic. And so were they able to provide you information that they might not have had they not known you were a new transfer?
Probably, I think so. It's been a while. But I think it was just kind of more of a giving them a quick heads up that I might not necessarily be aware of the normal how things are handled here, to just kind of work with me, and if I need to adjust, if that makes any sense.
I think for me, it was sort of a slightly different experience. So when I first came to Boone, I was acclimated quite a bit earlier. I was living off campus, and so I decided to come and work at an on-campus job through the university. And so I started working before classes even started in August. And so I had a little bit of time to kind of adjust to what the campus itself was like, which was, at least for me, it worked really well because it gave me time to kind of process how big the campus was compared to my other campus. And so it gave me a little bit of time to acclimate and meet some of the faculty that weren't, now in my major's department. But once classes started and, students started flooding on campus, I think it was a hard adjustment because for me, it was a size difference. I wasn't used to seeing that many people. And honestly, I think once I kind of started to give myself a little more patience and not kind of expect myself to be so acclimated so quickly, and I was like, okay, it may take a couple months, and giving myself more realistic expectations, that helped quite a bit. And like everyone has kind of already stated, being involved, but I say be involved at your own pace as well, because sometimes forcing yourself can be quite a bit uncomfortable, which is also really good, but sometimes it can be a little too fast. So I say kind of know your own personality and know who you are, but still push yourself in some ways to be involved in whatever ways that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And we got any questions?
Yeah, I'm going to bring up these questions since we're kind of talking about transitioning and looking how to transfer. So one question was, if you are having to transfer now, would COVID rates also be considered for you? So would you consider those rates as you transfer?
I feel like I would look to see what the university is doing. I have some in-person classes and I have felt totally safe going to them because they have spaced out everything. There's hand sanitizer at like every corner you look at, and teachers are wearing face shields. And so I never felt uncomfortable being on campus. So I think like looking at what the university is doing would be a consideration for me.
And I agree with Kara. I think to see what measures the university are taking to sort of combat, the virus will be an important role for me in considering where I transfer to. So definitely seeing what the school is doing to, fight those issues.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of related to that question too, we have another one talking about the cost of living rates, I guess tuition rates for transfer students who are having to adapt to all the changes. How do you feel about that?
I know that I was able to utilize the CARE Act fund. I applied for that and I was able to get some financial aid from that, as well as the Mountaineer Fund that we had. So I really think it varies from person to person, depending on need, because I am an out-of-state student, so my tuition rates are a little higher. But I mean, even still, like before COVID hit, like I really thought the rate for App State was like great for what it was offering for me. So I thought it definitely like equals out to what it's going to bring to you.
Great. And Shaheem, I think you're living on campus right now. Behind you, you see one of our fine residence hall rooms. And so how has COVID impacted living on campus this year?
So it's been hasn't been too challenging. Standing in the dorm room, you want to be courteous and mindful of others. Make sure you stand 6 feet apart and wearing your mask at all times. So a lot of students in my hall specifically are following protocols and are being mindful of others. And I stand 6 feet. I'm not engaging in any conversations during the hall. So we are respecting the housing rules, and it's been pretty good thus far this semester. So no problems or issues.
Great. And if you are considering app, or again, wherever you're considering, one of your thoughts would probably be, what does next fall look like? And so we are, the schedule that's already out is showing that majority of our classes will be back face-to-face. Of course, this is assuming everything, all the vaccines and safety measures are progressing. They were just announced yesterday. They're going to have some smaller in-person graduations. So we are optimistic as we're looking at life moving forward at App. I imagine other institutions are making similar announcements. So as you consider where you are looking at and what the future holds. Definitely, those are some questions you can ask. Obviously, not everybody has the answers. It's a changing target and changing situation. So you might have to be a little patient as each institution looks at their own situation. We're lucky in Boone that it's a smaller town, so we have been able to avoid some of the larger outbreaks that some of the other towns and cities in the area in North Carolina have seen. Anyone else have any comments since we're on some COVID discussion about how it's been this past year? It's obviously not the year we expected. And I do feel for the students that have started over the past year and hasn't gotten the whole college experience. And so that's why we're very hopeful that fall will be a little bit more normal looking. Okay, let's talk about the resources you've used as you have gone through app. Are there any particular offices or resources that as a transfer student or as just a university student you really think is beneficial for you to encourage other students to utilize?
Oh, Lydia, you got it.
One of the resources that I've utilized was the Writing Center in the library, and I'll always recommend that to people because they're extremely helpful in any process of whatever you're writing. It could be even just research. Maybe you haven't even started writing, and the Writing Center is very, very willing to help you. And I don't know how much they're going to do in person this upcoming semester, but I know that they were doing virtual meetings and things as well, so they're flexible. But yeah, the Writing Center is extremely helpful and it's very accessible. Again, like I said, it's in the library, so it's not like some off-campus building or anything. It's a pretty quick walk, so I recommend that.
I was going to say the Writing Center as well because I have been utilizing that a lot lately. I had to write a personal statement for some applications for internships and I didn't know where to start. I had some ideas, but I didn't know how to bring them all together. And so you could just go and like meet with someone. I did a virtual, they are doing virtual meetings this semester, but they were able to help me like draft out like how I want it organized, what it should look like, how it should flow. So they've been super helpful, not only just for, I've gone to them for like, if I had an English class or like a research paper, but also like if you have some personal things, they'll even help you with like financial aid scholarship applications. If you want to like write out like what your responses are and give it to them for them to read, they'll totally look over that for you as well.
Yes, I definitely echo Kara and Lydia's point on the Writing Center being a communication major. I definitely had to write a lot of essays, and the Writing Center will be your best friend throughout your time here. But also take advantage of the Career Center, the Career Development Center, especially as a senior. If you want to write cover letters or you want somebody to look at your resume, please take advantage of the resources in that department. It's located in the JET building, Johnny Thomas building. So I definitely use that to my advantage as a senior in applying for jobs. I definitely have some of my advisors look at my resume and help me write cover letters. So take advantage of that. And also TRIO, so SSS, Student Support Services. If you're a first generation college student, I definitely recommend that you guys go check out TRIO and SSS for any advice or anything like that with academics or social. So.
Were you in TRIO at Central Piedmont and you were able to over to Appalachian?
Yes, so actually the staff at Central Piedmont got me connected to the staff here at App. So during the summertime before I arrived on campus, I already was familiar with who was in the office, who my advisors was. So definitely take advantage of those resources.
I think another really important one is the tutoring. I know you can do like small group tutoring or appointment-based tutoring. For me, I've mainly used lead tutoring, which is a special tutoring for chemistry classes, which is pretty much you have a lead tutor that attends your lectures and knows the material, and then you'll meet set up meeting times like 2 times a week where you can go in, everyone can go in, you'll work on a review sheet or ask any questions or ask for any problems, help. And that's been a super great resource for me in chemistry.
Great. And so how did you find out about these resources? As when you first came in, what made them stick out to you?
For me, oh, somebody was coming. My professor actually recommended that I go see like the Writer Center for one of my papers my first semester here. So when I did it, I just sort of fell in love with that process of going to meet with someone and working on my paper. It's extremely helpful, especially it's a 3 to 5 page paper you got to write. So you definitely want them to check over that. With the Career Development Center, my advisor in Trio recommended that I go speak with someone in the Career Development Center to sort of figure out, what I want to do with my resume and what jobs I wanted to apply to. So if you have those connections, it's important because they can assist you connect you with other people here on campus.
I was going to say my teachers as well, they would just mention in class some resources, like if we had a paper coming up, they mentioned the Writing Center. I also utilized lead tutoring when I was taking organic chemistry. I swear that was the reason I got a good grade in that class. They helped me out so much. But also I attended T-POP, which is like the pre-orientation. It's totally optional, but I wanted to get all the resources I can before I transferred in. And so I ended up attending there and learning about a bunch of different resources and like how to get involved, what apps to use. Like we have a next bus app for tracking like where the bus stops are, when they're gonna come next. So that's also super helpful because I was definitely utilizing the buses a lot when I first came here.
I guess I'll talk about 2 of the resources, but the Writing Center I basically just found because I was curious and I wanted to know more about the App State website. So I literally would click on every single tab. That's the long way to do it, but I was one of those people. And so I was looking and I was like, that could be really helpful because a lot of the times I just write and I don't necessarily get feedback, but it's really helpful to have someone read over something or even help you like figure out citing and all kinds of fun things with writing. So that was one of the reasons I found that. But again, the Career Development Center, I found that just from clicking different tabs and I was like, whoa, this is really neat. They help you with interviews, they help you with dressing professionally, they help you with pretty much every single step of being a professional, whether it's you're prepping to go into a job or you're wanting to get an internship or you're wanting to do an interview. Like they'll help you with pretty much every single step. And so that stood out a lot to me because I didn't know that colleges really offered all those resources. So it's pretty spectacular. So.
Well, we're obviously biased about the resources here. These are common resources at any 4-year institution. So regardless of where you may end up, be like Lydia and click all over the websites to find them. So how was your academic transition? I mean, were your classes different than your previous institution? Do you have a preference for seated or online classes? What's your thought on the academics at a 4-year institution? Now, Kara and Lydia, you came from another 4-year institution, so maybe was there a difference between institutions? And then Russell and Shaheem, was there a difference between the community college academics and what you found at the 4-year institution?
For me, the class size was definitely different because coming from a large 4-year institution, a lot of my classes were like 100 people, usually average. And so coming and taking like my major classes at App State, like they were like maybe 20 people, 30 people at most. And I really enjoyed that because I actually felt like I could connect with my teachers for once. Before I just kind of felt like I was just number 60 in the class and like they didn't even know my name. And so I was like, am I ever gonna make connections with my teachers? And so I was thankfully able to do that by transferring to App State and having these smaller class sizes. My teachers like they all know my names now and my major, and I had to ask multiple of them for recommendations for my internships, and I felt totally confident in doing that because I know that they know me and they know my work ethic and that they can speak to that. So I guess like kind of answering the seated versus online, I personally really enjoy in-person seated classes because I feel like that's just like you make so much more of a connection there.
I agree with Kara. As far as class size goes, I came from a community college and the class size was pretty much the same. They were pretty relatively small, so like 20 to 30 students for my major classes. And being able to make those kind of connections with your professor is felt very similar as it did at a community college. I would say it's definitely tougher, but I don't think they like expect an unrealistic amount of work out of you. Everything is definitely manageable if you manage your time right and utilize your resources and go to your professors for help during office hours. It's definitely manageable. And I also agree with Kara in in-person classes. I feel like that face-to-face, it's just much easier to make those connections.
It's funny, I had the thought of, we're talking about like the smaller class sizes. So where I came from was a very, very small school, much smaller than App. And so when I came and had a couple of general education classes, they were actually larger than a lot of the classes I had. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. But I think the adjustment to that went smoothly. It definitely just took making a couple of connections with the students around me and talking to the professor to kind of feel like I was a part of the class and I didn't feel out of place. Because it is interesting, like when you, as a transfer student, you come in, you may be older than some of the other people in your class. And you may be like class rank or the classification. You could be a senior in a class of sophomores. So it can be interesting because the professor doesn't always know that, and the students around you don't know that. So it's just a great kind of starting point. You could say, hey, we're all students, and I'm just going to make a connection with you right beside me, or like you. And that's usually how I would start to kind of make myself feel more comfortable. I do also prefer in-person classes. I just feel like I can be engaged, just me, a lot better. And again, it is a little easier to talk to the people around you when you are in closer proximity with safety precautions. It just feels a little more natural sometimes.
Yeah, so I think we all agree that one benefit of coming to the app is the small class size classes here, especially coming as a junior, transferring as a junior. So you definitely get the benefit of having those one-on-one times with your professor, and something I took from my community college. Being that it's a small institution, I did have the time to speak with my professors one-on-one during office hours. And once I made that transition to app, that I was able to carry that on to app and speak with my professors one-on-one and able to get those make those connections with your professor. So it's definitely beneficial coming in as a junior upperclassman.
Great. So let's switch to social life. I mean, we've talked a lot about academics. So what strategies and resources did you use to get involved? I know at the very beginning you talked a little bit about the transition, but as you're looking back, I mean, I think 3 of you are graduating soon. So how was it to get integrated into campus life?
I think someone mentioned this earlier. I utilized the transfer events that were going on throughout the week, because there was one like within the first week I was there was like one almost every single day. And so I was like, I'm gonna make sure to go to those because I transferred in knowing absolutely no one. And so I was like, this is how I'm gonna make connections. And even if you don't have someone to go with, like I didn't have anyone to go with, but I was like, other people are probably in the same boat. I don't want to let that prevent me from going and meeting people. And so I'm really glad that I ended up going and pushing myself out of my comfort zone, because I would consider myself more of an introvert rather than extrovert. And so it really was a big step for me to have to go into a place where I knew no one and make a whole bunch of new connections as a transfer student. But I honestly found it very, I don't want to say easy, but once I started pushing myself and talking to more people, I found it to be easier to make connections. I made sure to join a club related to my major and then a club that I was just interested in general. One of my first clubs that I joined was Adventure Coffee and Service. It's not around anymore, but it was super fun. We would go on hikes and like learn about coffee, and it was just a great way to meet people who had similar interests as me.
Yeah, I think going to those transfer events, because everyone's in the same boat as you, right? Like they transferred in a week ago. Everyone wants to make those connections and kind of form those bonds with your peers, and they're a great way to do it, just because that's what everyone there is looking for. I think also regarding clubs, Engage and Club Expos. Engage is a resource that we have that kind of lists all of our organizations and clubs. So you can do a little bit of research into what they're like or what clubs we have out there. And Club Expo is one of those events that we hold 2 times a year, once in the fall and the spring, where clubs, it's at usually at the student union, and they kind of give you their spiel. You can go around and put your name on any of the lists to just kind of like get involved or see what they're about.
One little tiny strategy I think I did is I would, if I was even remotely interested in something, they usually have like maybe the first or second week, there's kind of like an interest meeting or something of that nature. And so I would either, back when things were in person, I would just go in person to a couple of their meetings to kind of feel out, do I want to do this? Do I feel comfortable? Like, do I want to continue? And so that usually was a good indicator. And if I didn't want to, I just didn't continue going, and I would try something else until I found a few things that felt like a really good fit. And I also kind of took on the mindset of, anywhere I go, I'm not going to know anyone. And so might as well step out in a few areas because I'm a stranger to these people. They're a stranger to me. It's good. It can be a good experience to learn how to communicate, but also just make friends. And it could be just one person or 2 people. It doesn't have to be this whole sleuth of connections that you make. It can start small and then it can broaden as your years go on.
Yeah, and I think just the reoccurring theme is don't be afraid to go out and explore campus or Boone. If you just want to walk around, people here are friendly. They will speak to you. Other people do want to make friends. So if you're transferring in, please get out your dorm room and go explore the beautiful scenery that Boone has to offer in campus and talk to people. Like Kara, I'm an introvert. So I kind of had to force myself to, go out and speak to people. And I'm definitely happy that I did that. I made a lot of friends here. So, go out and explore and have fun.
Great, great. Of course, again, if you have questions, we have one that's asking the panelists a lot of questions, but definitely anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat so Sam can relay them to our mentors. You can see one question that Kara responded to was about veggie restaurants. That's why she was passing that along. So what's next for you? Again, 3 of you are graduating, and I don't think, Russell, you're that far behind. What are you guys looking ahead to next? Any of you doing grad school, jobs? What's the hope?
So for me, I'm exploring different options right now. So I have applied to different news stations around the country. I applied to some in Wisconsin, some in Florida. So you really have to be ready to relocate as a future reporter. I also applied to AmeriCorps positions. I also want to explore some other passions of mine, which is mentoring and tutoring. So I applied for a few positions in AmeriCorps, also the Peace Corps. So I'm just trying to broaden my options. So when I graduate, I can have at least something I can go this route and then come back to reporting or take a year off and do something else. So I'm just trying to make sure I have a ton of options once I graduate, so I won't be stuck at home with my parents. And, so I'm going with the flow and continuing to apply to different opportunities.
I am currently, as I mentioned previously, applying for internships. To become a dietitian, you have to complete a dietetic internship, and it's a whole matching system. So I am currently going through that. But I too am looking like all over the place. Looking at Chicago, Nashville, Richmond, Milwaukee. So I'm really looking all over the place. I just love traveling and meeting new people. So that's the reason why I'm just kind of looking all over. So I'll find out like April 5th where I'm going. So we will see.
Fingers are crossed, right?
I will be completing an internship right after I graduate. So from like May to August, as a programmer at a resort. And then after that, I will be taking a couple of months just as a break to kind of rest and refocus. Because I'm pretty sure, I mean, we're all kind of tired, but it's been a long journey. So just taking a few months off. And then after that, I'm going to start looking into opportunities, kind of like Shaheem was saying, and just applying in a lot of different places. Not exactly sure where I'm headed, but I would not be opposed to relocating as well, moving across the United States. Who knows? The options are open for the most part.
So I won't be graduating this semester, but the plan is to graduate in the fall. And for me, I plan on going to grad school after I graduate, probably for paleoclimate. So I haven't done a ton of research for it because I'll be deferring till fall of 2022. But I know that my department holds a like grad seminar where they kind of talk about if you want to go to grad school, here are the things you need to know. Here's what you should be looking for. Here's when you should apply by. And I'm doing some student research with my professor this fall as well to kind of prep for that and to have something I can kind of present to be like, oh, here's a research paper I did on paleosols or that sort of thing. So.
Awesome. So we're getting to the end of our times. So the last questions, I guess, unless Sam, I don't think anything's coming in the chat. No, okay. The last questions are, what kind of advice would you give? What would you give to advice to someone just starting the transfer process now? And what advice would you give to someone that plans to start in the fall? Start at their new university in the fall.
I guess I would say like in terms of like applying and going through that process, just to like trust your gut. You know yourself better than anyone else. So I think you really just need to consider what you want and not what others are wanting out of you or what others expect of you. Just focus on something that's going to benefit you in a place that's going to help you thrive. I know I was looking for a place that would give me a bunch of different leadership opportunities, which I definitely have been able to achieve at my time here. And I'm gonna steal one of our other mentors' common sayings, but I think it's super important. It's be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I definitely think that is so true. Like I said, I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, so I definitely had to become comfortable with being uncomfortable and stepping out of my comfort zone to talk to others and to put myself out there.
Far as the application process, I agree with Kara, trust your gut and your decisions. Definitely make sure what credits can be transferred to your university of choice. Definitely take a look into your major and to see what they need from you as far as credits. And because with my major, you had to apply to get into it. So, which I didn't know. So when I first arrived here on campus, I was a journalism major, and I didn't know that I had to apply to the broadcasting major to get in. So definitely check, make sure, call your department, make sure you know what you need to do. And as far as coming to campus, just be open to new ideas, be open to trying new things. Get out, like I said, get out and explore. Get out that comfort zone. Find resources on campus. Go speak with your professors on the first week of classes. Let them know that you are a transfer student. Sort of share your story. Why did you come to this particular university? So just just get out. You know, don't be afraid. Just come with an open mind and have fun. You know, enjoy it. You know, don't get down on yourself. We all gonna face some challenges and some adversities. So just enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I think when looking for a where you want to transfer, doing research and figuring out what is best for you and your career plans is definitely important. So kind of figuring out, like looking at what resources they have that might give you that extra push or aid in your academic career is definitely really important. Um, and then as far as if you're transferring now, get involved, and that will be continually like pushed probably wherever you go. And it is definitely really important. I think by getting involved, it kind of not necessarily, it almost forces you to be a better student in a way. Um, and you make those connections, and you, whether it be with your peers or with your professors, and those connections will go on to aid you in whatever it is you want to do.
I think I would say, I would kind of say what Shaheem has already said, but be open about any potential opportunities and experiences, whether they're professionally, they're social, or academic, you know, because you never know what connections you're going to make with people and where that can take you. Whether it's through the process of applying or whether it's you're in a school and you're kind of adjusting to this new experience. And the other piece of advice I would give is to be okay with asking for help, because it can be an overwhelming process, whether it's applying, because I know I applied, you know, by myself, and I didn't have help from my parents, and they weren't really involved in that process as much. And so it was kind of all on me to meet deadlines, to get all these things together. And so it can be a little bit overwhelming, but asking for help from, whether it's your support system, a family, friends, or if it's, oh, hey, I have this question, and it's asking someone in a college or a university. And even when you're adjusting and you're there, seeking out resources that can be helpful to you, whether it's a counseling center or it's a faculty member, a professor, you know, someone that you can make a connection with, that you can maybe talk about some things and have it questions answered. And because you don't have to do this all by yourself. And I know I'm telling that to myself, you know, 4 years down the road, but that, I think if I had been told that, that would have been very helpful years ago. But hindsight's 2020, and you do learn things, and it's all good.
Definitely do grow through the process. Great. So Shaheem, I know you're typing in the answer. We did get a question that came in about the RLCs, and I don't know if you want to comment on it out loud or if you just want to type that in. I will. We really haven't tried to give too many commercials about app, because this is a general information, but we are opening a transfer hall in the fall that we're very excited about, with 250 beds in one hall, all dedicated to transfer students. So if you are coming in the fall, definitely an option for you. There are other schools that have similar either halls or floors for transfer students. It's a great way to form a community. And Shaheem was part of our transfer RLC last year, 2 years ago. It all kind of blends together. But I don't know if you want to comment, Shaheem, or you're typing it into this particular person.
I can stop. When I first got to the RSC, I think one benefit of staying in a transfer RSC in particular is that you are able to attend multiple events where you're able to connect and form those bonds between other transfer students. So coming in, you know, compared to like other housing options, the transfer RSC does allow you to attend events, and those events are extremely fun. You get to go before COVID. We went to Camp Broadstone. We did like a ton of events. We are able to connect and sort of sit down and bond together. I think we played some football. You know, we was by the river, and you know, those events are, I think, extremely important coming in as a transfer to make those connections, because they can go a long way during your time here at App. I think that's one benefit of being in the RSC is that community feeling of being in a close-knit family, and that you have someone you can talk to on a daily basis, and someone you can connect with, whether it's a roommate or people on your hall. And it just was definitely a huge, benefit for me coming in, because I didn't know anyone, and to have those connections as a transfer student was really important to me, specifically, because I didn't know anyone. So definitely check and take a look into those transfer RSCs, and I think it's very beneficial. So.
Sam, before we sign off, you have any questions that you want to ask them? Does anyone have any last words of wisdom or anything else you would like to say before we sign off? We've covered it all, huh? All of the mentors have profiles and their emails on our webpage at transfer.appstate.edu. Again, it doesn't have to be specific to app. If you want to ask them a question, just get their experience. They're more than happy to connect with you through email or other forms. So definitely check that out. I want to thank you all for being with us today. We've had some great conversation, and we are happy, all of our counselors and our office are happy to answer any questions. Again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, ask those questions, advocate for yourself. This is a unique experience that you're going through, and we want to make sure you have all the information you need. I think that's all we've got, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We do, Kara mentioned TPOP. For those that are planning to come to app in the fall, definitely encourage you to check out TPOP. You should have an email, and it's a good opportunity to register classes a little earlier than other new students. So put that little plug in there. But thank you so much for sticking with us this whole day, and we will see you soon, or if not, we wish you good luck on wherever it is you're going. Thanks, guys. Thank you, mentors. Thank you, Sam, for helping with this. I'm going to end the recording. You guys have an awesome day.
You can. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.